and welcome to Curtain Call. I'm your host, Robert L. Douglas. This is our first in-studio episode of Curtain Call, which is all about theater. We wanted to bring to you an opportunity to learn all about theater that's going on in Detroit and across the country. This is our initial show. We've got another show that's recorded that we want to bring to you this sometime in the future. But today we're going to talk a lot about theater. I have a degree in theater, and I've been working in theater for many years. For the last 40 years as a playwright, as a director, sometimes as a producer. There's a lot going on in theater in Detroit. Detroit right now has come alive, especially in 2024. There's so many things happening here, so many wonderful things going on in the city of Detroit. It's just alive and perking with activity. And theater is among them. There's quite a bit of good theater going on here in Detroit. There's quite a bit of films being made here in Detroit. The film industry in Detroit is growing and is quite active. And a lot of the films that are being made here grew out of the theater industry here in Detroit from several years ago. A lot of playwrights and producers transitioned from the stage to film. So we're going to talk about that today. Our guest today will be Kennicki Jones. Kennicki Jones, who is an actress, a writer, a filmmaker, an award-winning filmmaker with a BFA in theater and an MFA from Florida State in film and directing. So she should be here shortly. There's so much to do here, so many playhouses. We're going to talk about those playhouses throughout our season. We're going to talk about the actors. We're going to talk about every aspect of theater, from the page to the stage, from the playhouses to the players themselves, to the stage managers, to the crew, to the writers, everything that involves doing theater. We're going to do that through this show and hopefully raise the cultural awareness of our viewing audience and the citizenry of not just Detroit, because we want to be bigger and do more than just Detroit. Detroit is our home base, but we're hoping to be able to cover theater in Cleveland, like the Caribou Theater, theater in Nashville, theater in North Carolina, Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, and even New York. So we're asking you to join us for this journey, for this cultural awareness trip through the story of theater. When you think about theater, you get a stage, and that stage is basically a black box, an empty black box with curtains. That's the name Curtain Call. So, but what you do, what the playwright does, what the director does, what the actors do, what the stage crew does, what everybody involved with theater is take that black box and create whatever the imagination can come up with. Create stories, all type of stories, drama, comedy, tragedy, satire, musicals, dance, jazz stories. Everything that the mind can come up with can be put in that black box and then decorated and set up to be anywhere, anytime, any place on the planet. You can do a home, you can do an outdoor landscape, you can do anything with that black box. That is the beauty of theater, being able to do anything with that black box. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about as we explore theater. Over the weekend, my wife Jackie and I, we went to Detroit Repertory Theater to see Between Riverside and Crazy. And I have to say that it was a wonderful show. It's written by Stephen Adley Wjzz and it was entertaining, highly entertaining. It was funny, it was serious, it was dramatic, well written, and with some outstanding actors, local actors here in Detroit. If you don't know about the Detroit, which is something we've already explored and done with our first episode, which hopefully you'll be able to see sometime soon. We did pre-record it, and we've had some technical difficulties getting it up, and we hope that we'll be able to get it to you sometime soon. But the Detroit Rep is the oldest professional theater in the city of Detroit. This is its 67th season, and they've been doing work in the heart of Detroit for the past 67 years. And this season has been a good one. And this play between Riverside and Crazy was just excellent. It starred David Skillman, Will Street, John Wolfe, Siobhan Coleman, Sarah Catherine Wolfe, Kate McLean, and Harry Whitesell was this set designer. And I would recommend it highly for you to go see. It runs through July 7th at the Detroit Rep. As we wait on our guests to get here, I guess I should tell you a little bit about who I am and what I've done in theater. I have a degree in theater from Tennessee State University. I trained under Dr. Thomas E. Pohl, who was the first black PhD in drama in the United States, as well as W. Dewey Cox, who was well known as a set designer and technical director in theater, especially in black colleges and universities. Once I moved here 44 years ago now, working at Oakland University, I started writing plays, and we've been writing them ever since. Over the last 40-something years, I've produced several plays. I even had a couple done at the Detroit Music Hall. The first one was in 1997. I don't mean to be telling my age, but yeah, it was that long ago. And it was entitled Family Love, and it was starring the late, great Roger E. Mosley, Vanessa Bell Armstrong, Allison Williams, and Sherelle. And for those of you who have watched Tyler Perry shows on TV and are familiar with the current Temptations, there was a young man in that play in '97 named Tony Grant, who is now a lead singer with the Temptations and has been featured in a number of shows, Tyler Perry's TV shows. That's just a little bit of my experience. Some years ago, I wrote a play that we did at the Music Hall entitled The Life of Sam, The Triumphs and Tragedies of a Soul Singer, which was all about Sam Cooke, which was a very good show. If you know anything about Sam Cooke, you know he was probably one of the greatest soul singers ever. And it is a shame that his life is not more known about his life. But that show went up a few years ago. So that's just a little bit about my background. I've done acting classes, I've taught classes, I've done camps, and I'm trying now to break into the film industry. There's a very vibrant film industry here. And interestingly enough, the film industry here is an outgrowth of theater. For several years, there was a very vibrant and thriving urban theater scene in Detroit. And out of that urban theater scene, a number of those playwrights and producers transitioned into film. And now they're making movies every week. Dennis Reed, Kamal Smith, Joe Smith, Renika McQueen, so many people. At one time, Melissa Tarver before she passed. So there's a vibrant film industry here, and actually I'm trying to get myself out there as a screenwriter and to get my screenplays produced here in the city as well. So if you're interested in the arts, if you're interested in theater, if you just like good entertainment, Detroit is a good place to be. And there's a lot going on here. The development of actors for both the stage and the screen is very vibrant. As we go through the episodes and the things that we're going to be bringing to you weekly at 5 p.m. here on Wjzz Cool TV, we're going to bring you some of the finest young talent that's coming up in the city. People like Jesse Boyd Williams, hopefully Ariel Crosby, and so many others. Whether they're in high school, we're going to try to feature, and we will feature Mosaic Youth Theater, Birmingham Village Players, the Detroit Repertory Theater that I mentioned, the Detroit Public Theater as well. And there's just so many areas and avenues to explore and discover here in Detroit, and we want to bring those to you through this platform, through this medium. So we want you to stay tuned, and hopefully our first interviewer, our first guest will be here shortly so that we can get this show running. We tried to start last week. We had some difficulties. It's like the devil is working. The devil's busy. Doesn't want you guys to know what's going on here in theater. But we're going to work at it. We're going to stay on it, and we're going to make it happen right here at Wjzz Cool TV. Which I'm a little early on this, but I have to bring you a station ID. This is Curtain Call on Wjzz Cool TV, which is streaming on YouTube, Facebook Live, X, and all other streaming platforms. So we want you to be able to join in and enjoy the streaming. And once it goes up, you can see us anytime during the week. You can log in at any time and see the show. And while I'm on the subject, there are other shows that are being produced right out of here as well that you can view and enjoy on this new medium of podcasting, which is also growing well here in Detroit. I'm going to we're here in theater. This is what you call a dark moment, a blank space. One of the things you don't ever want to have in theater is dead air, blank space, without words, without action, without drama going on. And there are things that are just happening that are trying to give us dead air and dead space. But we're going to stay at it here. We're going to keep active. We're going to keep talking. We're going to bring to you as much as we can about theater. In fact, let me see if I can pull up a little bit of my writing to bring to you. Maybe read something here from theater, from some of my writings that will keep you entertained as we wait on our guest. Just give me a moment here, people. can't seem to find anything right now. We had hoped the curtain call to get off to a more auspicious start than this. As I find myself sitting here alone in the studio, trying to entertain you without anything in writing that I could read from, waiting on a guest to show up. Okay, our guest is just minutes away. Just minutes away. Hopefully, she will be here shortly, and then she'll have some very good information, some very interesting things to show you. She sent me some links today. I wish we could show them to you now to fill the space because they were very interesting. As a filmmaker and writer, she has written some short stories and done some short films that are very interesting. Interestingly enough, one of the genres she writes to is horror, and the other comedy. And as a black writer, I've never consciously thought about writing for horror, but I saw one of her stories today, and it was very interesting. I wish I could show it to you, called Knock Knock. We'll talk about that when she arrives, and we get her set up here in the studio. If you like, you can call in the station and ask me some questions about theater. I'd be happy to answer anything that you might have for theater, so that we can crank this show up and get it going. As an actor, I prepare from a script. As a director, I prepare from a script. I spend hours learning the script. I spend hours developing the character. I spend hours committing the script to memory so that when I step on stage, the script comes, the words, the lines come automatically. There's no dead air, there's no blank space. There's just what the author, what the playwright has written, it comes across to you. This live in front of a camera, anything can happen, and it is happening now. Nothing like live on air without a prepared script. This is and will be an interview at some point in time, with whatever time we have left once our guest arrives. Myself, on the way over here, I encountered a number of setbacks. I usually am very early. I don't like being late. I don't do late at all. And on the way over here, stopped to get my car washed in the car wash, and the conveyor stopped. The brushes and things kept going, but I was not moving. The car wash stomped on me, and I had to sit there a few minutes waiting on it to start. When it didn't restart, I just drove out. And I'm okay, so that set me back a few minutes. I'm thinking I'm not gonna get there on time. Jumped on 696, thinking it would be the quicker way to get here than the way I normally come. And what happens? 696 is standing still, it's backed up. Standing still well before you get to Woodward. What am I to do? I get off, I'm even further behind than I had planned to be. And get here, and we're still having technical difficulties. And now here I am, 20 minutes into the show, and we're trying to make it work for you. Stay with me. We're going to get this show up and running, and we're going to have guests that are going to be here, and I guarantee you will enjoy it. Right now, you got me struggling, trying to make it. All I can do now is just wait. Hopefully she will be here shortly. This is a new experience for me. I have done live TV before, and hopefully once we get through this hour, pray for me, pray with me as we try to get through this show. Okay, I got a question. How do we call into the show? There are people who want to call in, so if I can get that answer to how to call into the show so people can call in and ask questions. One question, why I chose Sam Cooke to write about. After coming in, have a seat. Right over there. Okay, I chose Sam Cooke. Actually, I didn't choose Sam Cooke. Someone chose Sam Cooke for me. A young man who sang Sam Cooke songs and parodied Sam Cooke on stage because of his voice, came to me and asked me if I would write a play about Sam Cooke. And I thought it was a good idea. And he brought in a producer. The producer, I liked the idea of writing a play about Sam Cooke, so I wrote the play about Sam Cooke. I did quite a bit of research on Sam. I knew of Sam Cooke and knew that I liked his music. I wrote the play, did about 3 or 4 months of research, did another couple of months to write the script. We wrote the script. Unfortunately, the young man who came to me and asked me to write the play was unable to do the role of Sam Cooke, but I was fortunate enough to find an actor who I had worked with before who just happened to sound like Sam Cooke and look like Sam Cooke. And we were able to plug him in as Sam and had a very, very good show. The show did real well at the music hall. We were planning to bring it back. However, the company that owns the rights to all of Sam Cooke's music didn't want us to do the show in the first place, and they shut us down. Can't tell you why they shut us down, but they didn't shut us down. They tried to shut us down. The first time, but we went on and did the show, they didn't have any reason to shut us down. When we tried to come back with the show, they sued us. And had us tied up in court for several years. The case was dismissed after about 4 or 5 years, but we, at that point, were well past the opportunity to bring Sam Cooke back. That's what happened with that show. If you notice, I asked them why they shut us down, why they didn't want us doing Sam Cooke, and they said it was because they were doing a movie about Sam Cooke. And I said, well, we're just doing a play. And then they told me they were doing a play about Sam Cooke. That's been 12 years ago. Have you seen a movie about Sam Cooke? I certainly haven't. And doing my research, I also found out that they had shut down other plays about Sam Cooke. Ours was not the first. They had shut down other plays about Sam Cooke. So, thanks for texting that question in to me, Brenda. I appreciate it. You knew I was out here drowning without content, and I thank you for saving me with that question and giving me just enough time for our guest, Kaniki Jones, to arrive. And now Kaniki's here. Welcome, Kaniki. So glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
You don't know how glad I am to have you here at this time. Welcome to Curtain Call, our show all about theater. I am a theater person myself, a degree in theater as well.
Nice.
Playwright, director, producer, and now that I've told you a little bit about yourself, I need you to take up the next few minutes telling us about who you are and your experiences in theater and how you're transitioning into film as well.
Oh,
Tell us
thank
a
you.
little bit about that.
Thanks so much for having me. I apologize for running late. I had a little one at the house who I've fallen in love with. And so you kind of get stuck in an abyss when there's new life. She's only 3 months. 3 months old. Close here. Oh, great. Oh, nice. Oh, so she's a tiny one. First little girl in our family. So yes. Oh, cool. Oh, here I am. Glad I did the makeup. Good to know. Awesome. So I am Kaniki Jones. Hyphenated. I'm married to Jones, Edmund Allen Jones. He is a local actor as well. You may see him on the Vibe commercials. And I am
At Mosaic?
From Mosaic, yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on.
Yes, he should.
Will be on by the end of the summer.
Good. Yes, he needs to be on. But you know, being an artist is can be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So he may accept, but I can try to coerce him. So I graduated from Wayne State University in theater. I was a mother at a very young age, so it took me a moment to kind of get my footing in life, and make a decision. And I fell in love with the arts through Specs Howard. So before I went to Wayne State, I went to Specs Howard School of Broadcast Arts. Now it's Media Arts, and now I don't even think it exists anymore. And so that was my first experience with the collaborative art form of working as a group for the bigger picture, as you say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I fell in love with that. I didn't graduate from high school. I'm kind of dropping around, but because I ended up going to get a GED, I went to Wayne County Community College and got an associate's, and I discovered this really great program before Michigan Works was Michigan Works that paid for me to go to Specs Howard, and I put my kind of foot, dabbled in the arts with a little bit of that, and then I went to Henry Ford Community College. When I went to Henry Ford, I discovered theater, but I really wanted to do film. And so my theater teacher told me about Florida State University, but at the time I was a single mom with 2 little ones. I got accepted into their film school. I had these high hopes, but I don't know how grounded I was. I was like, I'm going to go to Florida and take the kids with me and do my thing. But then I needed to take a math class, and I ended up not getting the grade that I needed to get into that, to go travel alone in the world, which is probably the best thing. So it allowed me to take a step back and really think about what type of education do I want. I know I wanted to direct, but I also wanted to be a good actor's director, and I always wanted to act. So I went to Wayne State and became an actress, or learned the skill and the trade and the craft of acting. I did that. Graduated from Wayne State with a BFA, and then I did like a lot of acting around town, the Planet Ant, Detroit Repertory Theater, 1515 Broadway, which is no longer. So just kind of like locally, and I kind of fine-tuned my craft as a performer. And after that, I met my husband, fell in love. It was great. But I also started dabbling through Box Fest into directing. So okay. Box Fest was a summer festival for women who wanted to learn how to direct, and it created opportunities for women to work with other writers, write original pieces with just like the bare minimum, right? So that festival would happen at the Furniture Factory, then at the Planet Ant, and then we found different homes after that. And so, and then I became So I kind of juggled acting and directing and working a full-time job
Okay.
because in the city, artistry doesn't pay full-time wages, right? So I got a little tired of that. I did that for like a good 5 years. I ended up having a wonderful son, Phoenix, with my husband, who's now an actor. You can see him at the Obsidian Theater Festival and Crooked Parts that's coming up this weekend.
Okay, I want to ask you about
Yeah.
the Obsidian Theater Festival. But first, I got to do a station ID.
Yeah.
Again, this is Curtain Call
Hey, Curtain Call.
on Wjzz Cool TV,
Cool TV.
coming to you live, streaming on YouTube,
Ooh.
Facebook, X, and other streaming platforms. Wherever you get your podcast from, you can get Curtain Call on Wjzz Cool TV.
Okay.
Now, your writing.
Yeah.
You sent me some links, and I watched them links, and I enjoyed them thoroughly. Let me just say this: you're the second Jones I know. I know another Jones.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Oh, that's amazing.
I grew up with a Helen Jones, and she married a Jones, so she's Helen Jones.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
My grandmother's Helen.
Okay.
So, and my middle name is Helena.
Okay.
So, okay. Vibes.
So, your writing. I noticed something about you. I watched the links you sent me, and I noticed that you write horror.
Yeah.
I've never, as a writer myself, I've never thought about writing horror. Don't know that if I could, but I watched one of your Knock Knock today, and I'm like, okay, that was very interesting. Tell me why horror? Well, give us a little bit about your writing background and why you write horror.
Yeah,
As well as comedy.
Comedy, yeah. So horror is, I just grew up with horror. So my father, I think our closest bond was watching movies together over the weekend, just all day at the theater, right? Theater hopping. And horror was introduced to me at a very early age. Freddy Krueger, Halloween, all the classics, right? Hellraiser, all that. Like, those are all rated R films, right? And my parents did not care about those restrictions. And so it was just embedded in me, that and science fiction. And so I've always had a fascination with it. And so one of the first things I wrote was a stage play, and it was what's the name of it? The Block. It wasn't called The Block, but The Block Party. There it was. And so, and it was just about a house on the block that was possessed, right? And it just kind of like, I believe what started to happen was, for me, the collapse of Detroit. You know, I was from Ecorse, lived in Detroit my whole life, went to school in Ecorse, and I traveled back and forth. So I had like two home bases in a sense. And Ecorse was always very neighborly. Everybody talked and was communal. And I lived on Davison, the busy street, and I didn't have that connection because I had this dichotomy. And so once I left Ecorse and started predominantly being in the city, I was around the abandonment of homes, right? And so they became a structure that was life, right? They had a life, and I just could imagine that life being abandoned and the echoes and shadows that still remained as people kind of passed through them. And so my imagination always like explored how entities and how like trauma still exists even though it's unseen. And so I started just writing for catharsis, right? Like, and also to explore the genre. And because I love watching it. I could watch horror all day long. Daytime, nighttime, afternoon, morning, I could just do it. My husband was like, what the hell, right? And so it's just in my DNA, I believe. And so what ended up happening with Knock Knock, so that was me trying to produce a play, and I staged it. It was fun to just see it expressed on the stage, right? And because it was just like a stage reading, I had to play with the words more. Like, how do we invoke the horror through the words and through the pacing? And so that was like my first festival. And then I ended up winning through Box Fest the best direction for a play that I did, or that I directed, and I ended up having an opportunity to direct a piece at the Planet Ant called The Algorithm. And my husband started writing about, he began the play, and it was based off of a book, The Devil's, it was about kind of how the devil works through us, right? And our everyday living, our money, our finances, all these things, right? And so I then started thinking about, and so this was in 2012, the internet is becoming so much more predominant in our lives, and this is when the algorithm, we started learning more about what the algorithm is. And so I took that concept and incorporated it into how we are being tracked all the time, and that kind of entity that is unseen and unknown, that is the computer life. Because I love like The Lawnmower Man. It's a horror movie from the 90s, and kind of like how does that work in our everyday lives now. So I kind of wrote this, and it's just kind of like this interrogation through the interwebs, right? This, the cabling, right? Like all these things that we use that we don't know about. And so I wanted to explore that. So that was The Algorithm, and it was well received, and it was a lot of fun. And so I just kept writing. And so then when I left to go to film school, the first play, the short script that I wrote, short film, 3 minutes, was about kind of like the duality of personalities that exist within us that we aren't always aware of. And that one was called Adjusting. And I think it was just me reflecting on like exploring myself and trying to like figure out who I am, right? That was just me trying to find my film voice, right? And so I played with that, and it was you know. And then the second piece was, it's a comedy, and it was about a mother and her grown-up son who has not left the house.
I saw that piece. And
I have, like I said, I was a mother, so I grew up with my kids. My first son came when I was 14, so we grew up together, and then my second came shortly after that. And so my second son came to Florida with me while I was in film school. He was a great help for the baby, right? But it also felt like I was helicoptering him. And it also felt like I didn't know how to push him out the nest, and he didn't know how to fly. So I kind of played with that, and I thought it was funny, right? So that was also me trying to figure out my voice. But the Knock Knock came to me because of the Michelle Blair story. So I ground me and the concept of motherhood, like, is I'm a mother, right? I've never not been a mom as an adult, right? Ever. I've never been an adult single without a child. So I ended up seeing that story when I think it was 2015, 2014, where the woman killed 2 of her 4 kids, and they didn't find the 2 children until about 2 or 3 years later in the freezer.
I remember that. When I saw that piece today, I remember that happened only on the east side.
On the east side,
Yeah.
right down the street from King High School, where
Right,
I went to
exactly.
school for a
I
time.
remember that happening. And when I saw that piece today, Knock Knock,
Yep.
I thought about that.
It haunted me, right? So, like, I had this young child, this baby, and it kind of also reminded me of Medea, right? So Medea murdered her children, and she found a way to kind of excuse her actions, right? And so when I watched Michelle Blair in the courtroom, she was protecting her kids, so she says, from her other children. And that also is this dichotomy, goes back to the dichotomy. I'm trying to bring it back, right? So then I went to her Facebook page, and when I went to her Facebook page, she was this demure, curly hair, thick woman with a nice outfit on, and then her profile said anything for my kids or something like that. But it was the polar opposite from this raging, angry woman, unapologetic for killing her kids. And so it just kept on. So I had to come up with the thesis. And
I was in Medea in college. I had a small role in Medea in college. This is a good Greek tragedy.
A good tragedy, right?
You don't get a lot of Greek tragedies now.
Yes.
And so that's interesting that you
it is very much a tragedy, right? Yeah. And so, but the two remaining children have to heal, right? And the community has to heal, because how do you live next door, or it was in a housing community, the projects, walls are thin. So I'm questioning, how do you not know? How do you not, when they found her, she was babysitting other people's kids. So no questions were asked. So it becomes in this communal thing where it's like 2 children are missing and nobody knows, and they're right there, and you know, how do you not, where were the signs, where were the clues? And so I wanted to pose that question, right? And so I kind of hope that you can use horror to pose questions, because my professor, which, you know, I've been watching horror forever, he just simply was like, horror is the horrific. And, you know, of course you're watching movies and you're just kind of in it. You don't be like, yeah, it is horrific, like situation. And so I just placed that story that was haunting me. I just had to get it out, and I had to ask myself, because I went to school next to where she killed those kids. I was a teen mom. She was a teen mom. We were close in age. It's just I could have been her easily, right? Being overwhelmed with having to raise 4 children, different baby daddies, all these things, right? Being in a community that's supposed to be supporting you, and all these things, you can get lost in the shuffle. So I hoped to kind of ask the question, to knock. And so that's why it was knock on the door of your neighbors, check on the kids, let's go back to being a community, let's, you know, support each other, and all these things.
Is there someone we can see that? Because that's just that what I saw today was enthralling. My wife and I both watched it, and we both enjoyed and was hoping we could show a little bit of it on the show today. But that is right now, we can't do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We're growing though. It's just beginning. Is there somewhere somebody can find a link and watch that or see that?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. So it was accepted it did really well, like on the film festival circuit.
Okay.
And so the link I shared with you is on the Screen Fest channel. Okay. And so if you type in Knock Knock Screen Fest, you can find it. It's pretty accessible, and but a lot of people reacted to it. So it was my first time during, like, so it was released 2019 and 2018, and there was like so many reactions to it. Like, people were, this is like at the beginning of me learning what a reaction video is. So people were watching, and I'm watching them watch it and make commentary about it. So you can go down a whole rabbit hole, about 10-12 people.
So you hear that, people? You can watch it on, what is it now? Tell them again. Write it down so you can watch it. It's only about 13 minutes long, and it's enthralling.
Well, tell them again. It's on YouTube, Screenfest, and just search Knock Knock or Knock Knock Screenfest. It'll come up, and just make sure it's the reaction video. But there's also, like, I Am Zoe. He's a popular guy. A couple popular people did it, so it kind of blew it up. So I guess I went viral, but I didn't know what to do with that. Who even knows?
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Let me do another station ID. Yes. Again, you're watching Curtain Call, brand new, all about theater on Wjzz Cool TV. Available on your streaming platforms such as Facebook Live, YouTube, X, and all others. I wanted to ask you a couple of things. First, tell me a little bit about, well, as a film director, you transition from the stage to film, which is something I'm trying to do myself, and which is being done very successfully here in Detroit, with your likes of Dennis Reed, Kamal Smith, and the likes. Those guys are doing an outstanding job of creating content and showing mostly on Tubi, but as well on Amazon Prime. How has that been, and what are your plans moving forward in terms of creating screenplays?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, currently, I still have my toes, my feet, in both worlds of theater and film.
I want to talk about that too shortly.
So coming back to Michigan was a challenge because I felt like I didn't get a chance to really go out into the world. I thought I did great on the film festival circuit, but we came back here. My father passed away, and I just still wanted to contribute to. I didn't want to. We owned the house, right? So I wanted to stick around and figure out like how can I do it, right? And so. And then, because of the success of Knock Knock, I was offered a position to teach at Wayne State production because I have an MFA. Okay. And so I was like, cool. So I kind of fell in love with that. It was really nice. Constantly producing 2 to 4 to 6 short films by really eager young filmmakers, right? So I kind of got wrapped up into that, and also was really afraid a little bit to step out into the stage, because it's a different world, right? You have the theater world, which is its own world, and then you have Detroit's film world. And I had a few friends like Thomas Harris and Darren Brown, who I went to school with, doing their things, right?
Darren Brown, I've seen his work.
Yeah, so they're just like are successfully doing it, and so being able to have that confidence to be like, hey, and there was some recognition, you're like, hey, what's up, I'm here. But how do you, without the funds,
that has been my problem,
successfully transition into that, right? And then being comfortable at Wayne State, having being able to consistently executive produce and teach students, and really learning as I, getting confident and understanding the production side, and it was like, okay, cool, I need to work though still, right? Like I don't want to be a teacher that doesn't do. So because 2020 happened, a lot of theaters needed to film. So because I have a theater community, a few friends came, or theaters came, and they wanted to shoot. So it was a good transition. Sucked that the world was falling apart, but it allowed me to still practice my craft and get better, or hope to get better, right? And so I had a chance to shoot an adaptation of Rapunzel with Black and Brown Theater. And he didn't want to, he traditionally would do it in a theater space, but he wanted to go out into the world and shoot it more cinematically. So we went scouting and found some really great locations, a castle. We used the space across the street from the DIA. And the name is escaping me right now, but that really beautiful stone building across the street from the Science Center. It's right there on the corner.
East Kirby.
Yeah, what's but it looked like Rapunzel's tower, right? So we kind of faked that out. It's an art center, actually.
Right next to the apartment.
Yes. Yep. So we're there. So I get a chance, and so to use tools, and we can rent gear. So I keep kind of growing, but still we need money, right? So, and he had a budget, so that was really great. And then I have other friends, so I'm kind of growing my network, right? Okay. Especially female network. So when I came back, there was this collective called the Final Girls, and it was a filmmaking group, right? And we would support each other, and I met some really great directors, some really great editors, some really great writers, and so establishing my tribe of people, right? And so I feel like the last few years have been that. And so last summer I had a chance to, because I also do some DP work, and so it gives me a chance to be behind the camera, so I can be a better communicator once I get to shoot, once I get to direct my feature that I'm working on right now. Perfect, 2 of them. And so so we shot a really short film that was a lot of fun, Taurus and the Moon, or Moon and Taurus. And we were partnered up with a really great collective of men who let us borrow a lot of gear. So the budget was practically zero, right? Because we used gear, and we had people who volunteered. So like really starting to feel confident in knowing who to go to. And so working with John Sloan, now I'm going to transition because this is still me being in my film world and then in my theater world. So in 2021, John Sloan, who is a family friend of mine who graduated with Edmond, he started the Obsidian Theater Festival.
And I want to ask you about it. So I'm going to ask you that question all about. Tell us about it, Obsidian, before our time runs out.
Yeah.
And so please do that now. Tell us all about Obsidian and the festival that's going on this week.
This week we open on Thursday. Well, right now we have a conference. So at Wayne State University, it's free. So if you want to come out, you can on Tuesday and Wednesday. And Thursday, the festival opens at the Bowl. So in 2021, the festival was established, but of course we were all still locked up. So he wanted to find a way to efficiently, through a pandemic, and also with great quality, produce theater, right? A lot of times you just kind of put up some PTZs that are not at the highest quality, or just a camera at the back of the theater and shoot. We had a 3 to 4 camera operation with some really great, a really great cinematographer, Orlando, who worked for PBS for a very long time, and he had brought in a nice camera crew, and he asked me to be the post-production supervisor. And so I kind of came in and I helped manage the tail end of ensuring that it goes live to stream, and that the editors get what they need, and that we create a schedule and a timely way to go to distribution, right, online. And then also to begin to create this database, right? So that my education was, I learned that all in my education at Florida State, right? So I was prepared to do the job, and it was really great experience to see it. I think he hired almost about 50, 60 people. No one got COVID, and this was at the height of COVID, right? So all these really wonderful protocols and procedures were in place. So that was year 1. Year 2, we were back outside. So John he's a visionary, right? So not only did we do main stage theater with regular straight plays, we did a musical theater workshop, and we did a cabaret. So once we started back, he asked me to be a producer of these pieces, and helping with Orlando, the DP, of gathering the teams, communicating with the editors, space, equipment, all this great stuff, and it was a success. And so then the next year, he asked for me to be the head of the department, and so I worked with a really awesome DP who became my producer and my partner, which was Jeremy Brockman, right? And he's the man, okay? And so being able to work with really successful people who are out here doing things just kind of felt like, okay, great, we're out here doing it, and we are producing pieces that are theater pieces, but are filmed in such a way where you feel like you're there, but you also feel like you're watching a high quality piece of art.
Tell us about give us some detail of what's going on this weekend. What can people expect to see, and where can they go see it?
So this weekend, starting on Thursday.
My birthday.
Hey, happy birthday! Come on through, right? We have a cabaret. So the first show opens with Black Santa, a really high energy, fast paced comedy that's at the Bowl Theater. It begins, you can go on the site, I want to say 6 p.m. But it's better to say 6 instead of 7. So I believe it starts at 6, 7. My call time may be 6. But just go on the site, Obsidian Theater Festival. You'll be able to find all the information there. And directly after the show closes down that night, well, it doesn't close, but ends, we go over to the cabaret. Cabaret is at the Gym Theater, and that opens at 9. There's wine, there's a bar, there is music. It's a traditional cabaret style night of fun. It's over this closing champagne cheer thing is at 10:15, so it's about an hour and a half show. So it's amazing, right? You can pay what you can or get sponsored seating, tables, contribute, however, right? So we want to make theater very accessible, both online and in person. And that's Thursday, and then on Friday we have 3 shows. One at the Bowl, well, 2 at the Bowl. The first show begins. You have to look at the schedule. I'm sorry, but it's at the Bowl, and then you can hop across the street over to the Opera House, and then see the final show across the street at the Bowl. So it's a lot of content, both in real life, and then all of these things will stream at the end of the year. By the end of the year, you can go online and watch them. And then Saturday, we rinse and repeat. 3 shows, 1 at the Bowl, 1 at the Opera House, 1 at the Bowl. And when I say the Opera House, it's the black box. So you go in up to the 6th floor, and you can watch there. It's a small piece. It's going to be turned into a documentary because it's a work in progress. And so we kind of show the behind the scenes creation of this piece. And this is our first time doing something like that. And then on Sunday, you can just stay put. You can come to the Bowl and watch 3 shows all day long. And enjoy the day, and then that will close out our season, and then we go into post-production where we get it ready for streaming.
Okay, and then I'm going to have John on. I'll have John Stone on at some point in time this summer to talk about Obsidian Festival as well as the Ghost Light Theater.
Yes.
Give me a little bit about the Ghost Light Theater.
So it's Ghost Light Creative. And it's a production company, and we do many different things. So if you are looking for someone to shoot a film for you, or if you're looking for someone to shoot a documentary for you, and we also have an arts initiative leg where like I said, the conference, it's about an educational kind of our educational realm, where now we have the Impact Conference that's happening. We have the Young Artists Conference that's happening right now, where we're teaching young people how to write plays, how to audition, and then the Impact is bringing theater to the community. Right now, Dominique Morrissey is speaking, one of the panel speakers right now. As we speak, she might be leaving the panel now, but like I said, on Tuesday and Wednesday, you can come up to Wayne State and check us out. So if you go online, there's still spots available. You can reserve it. So essentially, we were a part of producing One Sleepy Night that was at the music hall over Christmas time, and we may be doing it again. Anyway, so we do a lot of things. So pretty much a production company that is expanding out into the universe.
Well, it's been a real pleasure having you. I'm so glad you were able to make it.
Yes.
I was dying in here by myself.
I'm sure you killed it.
But we're here now. We got it going. We've gotten some valuable information. Our audience has gained some knowledge about you and the work you do, as well as some things that you can go see and enjoy this weekend through the Obsidian Theater Festival and Knock Knock on YouTube.
Yes,
Scream, what is it? Scream what?
Screamfest.
Screamfest on YouTube. Again, I'm Robert Douglas. I want to thank you guys for staying with me as I struggle through an opening all by myself for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. And I want you to come back and join us and be with us every Monday as we bring talented young people like Nikki here on into the studio to talk about their experiences in theater. You've heard all about mine now. It's exhausting. I've exhausted everything there is to say about me. But there is a lot going on in Detroit in theater. There's a lot going on across the country. And hopefully we can bring you some of that. I just found out recently that someone I grew up with in Nashville wrote the book for the Ella Fitzgerald story that Frida Payne is doing now at Meadowbrook. So we're going to try to bring you as much as we possibly can